Good afternoon. The Ghana Audit Service has jammed to the defense of Frank Oliver Kodo following the further state investigation alleging that he received over 400 million Ghana cedis in earned salaries between January 2023 and June 2025. While Mr. Kodo denies any wrongdoing, the controversy has now shifted squarely onto the Ghana Audit Service itself. In a surprising clarification, the service says the figure attributed to him was due to a transpositional error, raising questions and concerns about data integrity and oversight. This comes after an earlier rebuttal by the Controller and Accountant General's Department, which firmly rejected the claims, insisting the government's payroll system is robust, tightly controlled, and protected by automated checks. My colleague Fatal Bayaga joins me via Zoom with more on this developing story. Fatal, welcome to the program. Tell us more. The Controller and Accountant General's Department was the first to respond to this case. What exactly was their reaction?
Yes, Ken. So they explained that salary payments are not processed without oversight from covered entities. They say that monthly salaries are paid to eligible employees on the Government of Ghana payroll after the online validation of these payments by the heads of the various covered entities. The department added that additional internal checks are applied before payments are made. And the statement continues to say that these monthly payments are further subjected to internal quality processes to validate each salary payment in terms of acceptable ranges, with particular focus on monthly variances, validation of conditions of service, above range analysis, validation of total payments to the bank, among others. So, Ken, based on what the Controller and Accountant General's Department say this afternoon, they conclude that on the basis of all of these control measures that they've put in place, they are saying that the allegation is not feasible.
Fatal Bayaga, thank you very much. Prince Ganaku is the lawyer for Frank Oliver Kodo and has been explaining the position of his lawyer in this matter. Well, let's get interactive with him. He's joining me right now on Zoom. Welcome to the program. Your client has effectively been cleared. What is his immediate reaction to this development?
It's mostly one of relief at this point. It's not ideal to have been put in this situation, but at the very least, you can rest assured that moving forward, you are not going to be plastered all over the news and going through all of this. So the immediate reaction is one of relief, but it doesn't take away the pain and the harm that was caused up to this point.
And do you believe this issue has caused reputational damage, and will there be any legal action at all? Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. All you have to do is, if you go on social media, you take the platform formerly known as Twitter, for example, and you go through the quote tweets and the replies to the Fourth Estate's original post, you can see literally people calling for my client's death and people castigating him as a greedy, corrupt person, as a symptom of everything that is wrong with this country. So there's absolutely, and this is just one platform. This is not counting those who have taken screenshots and shared it across the world. This is not counting every time that he goes somewhere or he applies to some program, they run a Google search on him and this comes up. So you cannot deny the existence of the reputational harm. Yes, legal action has been discussed, specifically in respect of the media house that published the post. But yes, we are definitely considering media action. I guess I'll have to wait for his final instructions, but yes, at this point we are considering legal action very, very seriously against the Fourth Estate.
But the media house picked their data from the Ghana Audit Service.
Yes, I mean, you could say that, but on the other hand, on Sunday, and for me, this is what I think is so egregious, right? And this is what dismays my client. When the Fourth Estate got wind of the matter, they contacted my client via phone call on Sunday. And the Sunday is important. Now, my client had the good sense to record this conversation, and in this conversation, he mainly expressed surprise and worry about the revelation. And he said point blank that it is not possible because he's paid from Controller and Accountant General, and he has his pay slip available if that's what the fourth estate needs. Now, permit me a bit here. Usually with unearned salaries, what tends to happen is that there's a person who doesn't exist and who has been fraudulently added to the payroll, or a person who has left post, and because of bureaucracy, that information hasn't filtered to the appropriate quarters. So that person still gets paid. What does not happen is that a person will receive salary far exceeding the president's salary, equivalent to an annual salary for an MP for 20 years, each month for 29 months, and that will go undetected. The chances of that happening are just infinitesimal. So when somebody presents you with information that is so improbable that it borders on the absurd, for example, like I saw John Mahama stealing cocoa at Malam, it should give you cause for pause. Maybe the person you saw just looked like John Mahama, or maybe you are having a mental episode. Your instinct should be try to ascertain the truth of the matter before you go to press with it. Now, in this case, he clearly indicated to them that he had evidence that would prove that there was an error. And it was a Sunday. Because it was a Sunday, he couldn't get that information for them. So he had to wait till Monday to make the application for the pay slips, make application for his bank statements. What Fourth Estate should have done, having been informed that there is potential exculpatory evidence, is wait to receive that evidence and put that evidence to the audit service, put that evidence to the Controller and Accountant General for them to say, oh, we made a mistake, or oh, he's lying, it's true. And then you can go to press. But that's not what they did. Somebody at the Fourth Estate was so convinced of my client's guilt that they decided to take a risk on my client's reputation and go to press with it. And that is the problem.
But the Fourth Estate still maintains that they picked everything, their data and everything from the Ghana Audit Service. So it's surprising that you are rather suing the Fourth Estate and not the Ghana Audit Service, who provided that data that they have now said is a transpositional error.
No, but as journalists, especially, let's take two things. The first is, just because somebody has said something that is defamatory and you merely repeated it does not make you any less guilty of the defamation than the person who originally said it. Even if the person can maintain a defense of privilege, like maybe the Ghana Audit Service will say that they are a government agency, so they have absolute privilege. Even if they have that privilege, you, the person repeating the potentially defamatory content or the potentially defamatory communication, can be held liable. So the fact that they merely picked it from the Ghana Audit Service does not say much. It really does not say much. What we have to look at is, as a media house, whether they did it supposed to do person, and he indicated to you that there was potentially exculpatory evidence. You, with this knowledge in mind, you still went ahead to put in press a publication that strongly alluded to my client's guilt. I strongly believe that there is a case back here, but at the end of the day, as lawyers say, the case belongs to the client, so we have to wait and get the final instructions from my client. I can tell you for a fact that it has been discussed.
Prince, are you not backing the wrong tree? Because clearly, as you've mentioned, that the Fourth Estate should have done due diligence, but they still insist that they picked their data from the Ghana Audit Service. So if you are to sue anybody, isn't it the Ghana Audit Service that you should sue? Because thanks to the Fourth Estate, they've come out to clarify that indeed this thing that was presented before Parliament was a transpositional error.
I don't believe, I shouldn't be understood to be saying that the Ghana Audit Service does not have any liability here. That is not what I should be understood to be saying. What I am saying is that at this point, there was no reputational harm before the Fourth Estate published what they published. As of 6:15 this morning, the post had been viewed over 600,000 times, and it still remains up. So I shouldn't be understood to be saying that the Ghana Audit Service has no liability. But for my client, the immediate person that has caused him this harm, this reputational damage, is the Fourth Estate, because they had every opportunity to wait and confirm the veracity of the information before proceeding to press. Because they were so convinced of my client's guilt, if you look at even how the article itself was structured, you should go and read the article. They open with a firm and unambiguous statement of my client's guilt, bring in experts who provide commentary, presuming my client's guilt, and at the tail end, just make a throwaway comment about how my client said it is very worrying, saying nothing about the potentially exculpatory evidence that exists. The general tenor of the article and even the post on Twitter is not balanced. They sought to create a narrative about my client. And for that, I believe that they should be held liable. And I don't know what my client is going to do. As a lawyer, in my professional opinion, I believe that they should be held liable. They should be held to account.
And going forward, what accountability do you expect from the institutions involved?
For the Ghana Audit Service, I mean, obviously they know that they have to do better. I love the fact that they have come out to apologize. Like I said, it doesn't erase what has happened, but it has ensured that further harm is not done. So they have taken accountability. The Controller and Auditor General came out to say that no, this thing is not true and this person could not have done what he's being accused of. That is a first step. It's not something that we usually see in this country. So for me, that is a first step. And obviously they have to do better. I cannot speak for my client on this because he remains a government employee, so I have to be circumspect in the utterances that I make. But I mean, they will know that they have to do better. For the Fourth Estate, on the other hand, being a private organization and keeping you see, even Controller and Auditor General have come out to apologize. Audit Service have come out to apologize. Fourth Estate is maintaining the post there with no apology to what they have done to my client. And for me, that is even more egregious than everything that has gone on so far.
So they haven't reached to you or your client privately?
No, they haven't. They haven't.
Right. Prince Ganaku, don't go yet, because I want to bring in another very important individual into this conversation, James Kluche Aveji. He's the former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Welcome to the program, Mr. Aveji. These are the concerns that have been raised by the lawyer for the now exonerated Kudu. What do you make of this brouhaha, first of all?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to our listeners. I think that, one, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the Audit Service made this mistake. And our recommend that the Audit Service should put their house in order. They should have a system of a continuous validation of the report, where officers go to the field to do the audit. The process of validating to a number of levels before you get to the result. But this kind of error should not occur, especially when you model on the reputation of individuals. That is my recommendation. But let me also say that Auditor General is also a human being. It's not immune to mistake. It's not immune to error. And so, but the good thing is that they come out to apologize and then say that it's an error.
Mr. Aveji, I would appreciate it if you kindly reposition yourself, because we're struggling to establish correct connection with you.
If you hear me.
Yes, let's try one more time. Concerns are being raised.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Concerns are being raised about the credibility of the figures being churned out by the Auditor General on this matter. In one breath, they say the issue is a transpositional error. But really, to what extent does that affect the credibility of the figures?
You know, if the figure has come to the public report, the report of the General, which becomes a public document, if processes are not being gone through for these errors to be corrected, it brings down to the credibility of the Auditor General. The Auditor General knows very well, or she knows, that whatever figure he comes out with, whatever finding, whatever recommendation he comes out with, is a report that will be taken to Parliament. Now, let me bring in something here. The Constitution, Article 187, which establishes the Office of the Auditor General, says that the Auditor General should audit the public accounts of Ghana and submit his report to Parliament, and then make his comments or recommendations. Now, after Parliament debates the report, Parliament can set up a committee to do a follow-up. Now, the same article says that no, when it comes to the Audit Service Act, says that after the Auditor General submits a report to Parliament, he must publish the report. Now, the mode of the publication is not stated in the Act. Some Auditor General decided to do a press conference. Some decided to say, I'll not even go to the press and do anything at all. Where we have a problem in this country is that the report of the Auditor General must be validated eventually by Parliament and by this way, Public Accounts Committee. What we have as a challenge is that individuals, even before Parliament or Public Accounts Committee sit on a report, individuals, especially media houses, jump on the report and start publishing content of the report. That is why we have a challenge. In fact, if this report had gone to Public Accounts Committee, what I did in the past was that before the Public Accounts Committee starts sitting in public, the committee will have a session with the Auditor General for the Auditor General to give reason behind his recommendation and finding. For the members of the committee, appreciate the content of the document before we go public. This issue should have been detected at that sitting or that meeting with the Auditor General, and then the issue would have been well explained to the committee. And then when the committee sits in public, this will be clarified. So the issue, what we're facing now, will not even come. But before the Public Accounts Committee sits on the report, media houses are going up with the content of the document. That is how we have a problem. So for me, I would agree with the lawyer to the officer, Mr. Kudu, that the fourth estate should have exercised a little bit of patience and do further work. Verify from Auditor General, verify from a Controller Accountant General, if to confirm those figures. If the Auditor General confirms the figure that, yes, that figure is true, is the correct figure, then you can go ahead and do it. I'm not sure that the FOSP have done that. If they have done that, you will have published the report that will tarnish the image of this person.
Does that mean that we shouldn't believe wholly the reports that are published by the Auditor General's office? Because it is public knowledge. It is always published on their website. But this is a case where the Fourth Estate did so, and then they are now saying there is a transpositional error. And you're also saying that they should have contacted the Auditor General office before coming out with this. So does that mean that we shouldn't believe wholeheartedly the publications of the Auditor General?
Because the Auditor General is also a human being and is not immune to error or mistakes, it would be better if you cross-check and cross-check again. My point is that because the report of Auditor General is discussed in Parliament, and for that matter, Public Accounts Committee, it would have been better for those discussions should first be handled by the Public Accounts Committee, then the media can take it and spread it. But where the Public Accounts Committee have not even sat on the report, and the media has gone ahead to do it, this error will definitely come out. But if it has happened, if it has been discussed at the Public Accounts Committee, it will have been handled in a way. And for that matter, the integrity of the Auditor General will also be protected. As I said, he's a human being.
Right.
He can make mistakes. That is why the Parliament is there to review his report. His report is not supposed to be reviewed by individual media houses or individual opinion. It's supposed to be done by a committee of Parliament. Then the Parliament committee will then make a recommendation on their findings, which will be approved by the entire House before the implementation of the recommendation takes place. But where this didn't happen, but the media house jumped ahead to do it, this problem will definitely come or about.
Mr. Vejidongori, Mr. Danaku is still with us on Zoom. You've been listening to the former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Do you agree with his submissions?
I agree 100%. I agree, especially with the final part of his submissions, that if if the Public Accounts Committee had done its work before the publication was done, or if the Fourth Estate had done better due diligence before publishing the article in question, we wouldn't be here. This specific thing is happening only because of the Fourth Estate. We know that transpositional errors occur. Even in the international standard on auditing, there are processes for what you do. After you've discovered an error, you have to reissue a new, report correcting the mistake, etc., etc. So even the international standards on auditing contemplates that it is possible that errors will occur. What happens is when somebody takes that mistaken data and then builds a narrative around it to tarnish somebody's image, that for me is the more egregious offense. Because that is not unintentional, whereas a mistake could potentially or possibly be unintentional.
Right. Mr. Aveji, so how does this affect the work of the Public Accounts Committee at this point?
Well, the report would definitely be referred to the Public Accounts Committee. The Public Accounts Committee would definitely sit on it. By the time they would sit on it, they would have met the Auditor General. The Auditor General would have told the committee that this is an error. So when the Public Accounts Committee sits in public and this issue is called to the person is called to the committee, the chairperson of the committee will then clarify that this is an error. So the matter ends. That is why I said the media house should have waited for the issue to be debated or discussed at the Public Accounts Committee level, because that is the legal authority that reviews the report of the Auditor General. And whatever they say is going to be the final. But you, the media house, have gone ahead of the committee. Now you have created a problem for somebody.
Right. This question I'm about to ask you is, I'm asking you this question as an individual, not as a former chairman of PAC. The counsel for Mr. Kudu is threatening to sue the Fourth Estate. Do you think that's the right thing to do?
I think that if the Fourth Estate should also come out and apologize, and then also use the same media, medium they use to publish the story, I'm sure the counsel and then the victim would have considered not going to court.
Mr. James Aveji, thank you very much. He's a former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Prince Ganaku is also the counsel for Mr. Kudu, who has been exonerated. Prince, I want to pick your final thoughts on this. If you are reached out to by the Fourth Estate that they erred in not doing enough consultation, are you going to reconsider your threats of suit against them? So
I cannot speak for my client.
Right.
The case belongs to the client. We can only advise on what we believe the chances of success are, and what we believe the likely outcome is going to be if we take this matter to court. So if you ask me what my advice would be to my client if he was seated in front of me, it would unquestionably be to go to court. But I don't know if my clients would want to go to court after an apology is rendered. I cannot speak to that. An apology would have to be rendered, and then we take stock of the position as it stands.
Prince Ganaku, thank you very much. He's the lawyer for Frank Kudu, who has since been exonerated by the Auditor General. Let's head to Parliament now, because the minority in the House has called on the Supreme Court to suppress cases brought against the OSP as tensions continue to rise over the powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor following a controversial High Court ruling that has effectively stripped the OSP of its independent prosecutorial authority. The minority describes the recent legal challenges to the OSP as a calculated political agenda rather than a coincidence. They argue that the string of petitions and court actions targeting the office forms part of a broader scheme to weaken and potentially remove the special prosecutor. This follows a High Court decision which ruled that the OSP cannot independently prosecute cases and must act with authorization from the Attorney General. Briefing the press, Deputy Ranking Member on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Al-Hassan Tampuli, called on the Supreme Court to quash the cases brought against the OSP, insisting the legal actions are flawed and politically motivated.
The High Court ruling must be immediately challenged and stayed, and we call on the OSP to immediately appeal the decision of the High Court and immediately also apply for a stay of execution at the High Court. And we dare also add that he must also proceed to the Supreme Court with a writ of certiorari to quash the decision of the High Court. 2, we call on the Supreme Court to expedite its determination in Adamte versus the Attorney General. The Supreme Court question must be resolved definitely and authoritatively by the courts alone, by the court that alone has jurisdiction to resolve it.
Well, the minority MPs are also insisting the developments are connected, pointing to what they describe as a pattern beginning with the arrest of private legal practitioner Martin Pegbu in December. They say the legal actions, including a Supreme Court suit and subsequent applications, are part of a coordinated attempt to undermine the office at all cost.
3rd December, Martin Pegbu was detained and subsequently released. On 8th December, Majority Leader and Majority Chief Whip came by a private member's motion and bill to repeal the OSP. 10th to 11th December, President Mahama publicly rebukes and says that they must discontinue. 12th December, the very same day, the minority called for the resignation of the leaders of the majority bench. One Noah Adamte files a suit at the Supreme Court. 25th December to 1st January, a coordinated campaign of petitions were mounted against the OSP. On 26th January, Chief Justice Bafoboni determines that not a single petition had a prima facie value. 27th January, the Supreme Court dismisses the OSP's application to be joined as a party to the Adamte suit. On 8th April, Attorney General files submission at the Supreme Court siding with the plaintiff Adamte. 15th April, exactly 1 week later, the High Court grants a quo warranto to Peter Hyde and declares OSP's prosecutorial powers null and void. This is not a sequence of coincidence. It is a campaign, and the minority names it as such.
And the minority is also raising questions about Archibald Hyde, the individual behind the legal challenge that triggered the ruling.
High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice John Eugene Nyadu Nyante, on a quo warranto application by one Peter Archibald Hyde. The judge ruled that the OSP has no constitutional mandate to initiate criminal prosecutions and declared all ongoing OSP prosecutions null and void, and directed the Attorney General to take over all cases and awarded costs of 15,000 Ghana cedis against the OSP. The minority is compelled to ask, who is Peter Archibald Hyde? What is his connection to the NDC government, to the Attorney General's office, or the wider campaign against the OSP? How did a private quo warranto application filed in a High Court come to produce with such perfect timing exactly the outcome that the Attorney General has been pursuing at the Supreme Court?
A private legal practitioner, Martin Pegbu, says renewed calls for independence must now go beyond structure alone and focus on integrity, safeguards for whoever occupies the office. According to him, the real challenge is not just institutional independence, but ensuring that the occupant of the office has honesty, integrity, and resistance to political influence.
The total independence, yes, it's an aspiration we are all working towards. But what happened with the creation of the Office of Special Prosecutor is that, at that point, it became clear to us that we couldn't do a referendum. You see, Article 88 is part of what we call entrenched clauses. So to say you amend the article, you have to do a referendum. And when we say referendum, that's like, let's put it in simple terms, voting. But this time, not voting for president or vice, no, but we are voting on a national issue. So I think that at that time, looking at everything, the money involved and the time, and to do referendum to change the constitution, let me tell you, you can't finish in less than a year. And I'll just show you one part alone. When you send that bill to Parliament that you want to amend Article 88 to give special prosecutor total independence, the total, he should not even look in the direction of Attorney General. That bill, when you send it to Parliament, and then even before he sent it to Parliament, they first would publish it in the Gazette. When they publish it, it has to be 6 months after the publication before you take any step. The 6 months is to allow for citizens to buy, read through, think, debate, media. So I'm telling you that even after publication, it will lie there for 6 months. You can't cut short that 6 months. Then when you say referendum, you are going to organize the whole nation. So it's elections. You have to run adverts, campaigns, etc. People have to go around. So you can't finish. When you want to amend a constitutional provision, it cannot take less. Not every constitutional provision. Sorry, the entrenched one. Entrenched. We've put wires and this is very strong anchor. You can't just pull it out. It's entrenched. So you need not less than 1 year. So at that time, it looks like, not that it looks like. So we all just agreed that, look, since we're not ready to spend that amount of money on a referendum, okay, let's try and use the Office of Special, let's do an act and then try and work around, do some shortcut. Yes, we did the shortcut and we're all happy with it because corruption was killing us, right? Mm-hmm. So if today civil society have gone back that we want independent special prosecutor, yes, we want it, but this time let's learn our lessons well. Those saying independence, they've not said anything yet. They've not said anything. Yes, they've not said anything. Even rather than just independent, I'll put it first. Put laws that will ensure we get an honest prosecutor. Honesty. Honesty is the first word. Integrity. We want a man of integrity. How do we fashion laws for a man of integrity to become the independent special prosecutor? If you don't add integrity, forget about independence.
Let's get talking and go on to Zoom right now and speak to the Deputy Ranking Member on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Hassan Tampuli. Also on the telephone line is the former chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Yunusaf Hussaini. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I want to begin with you, Mr. Tampuli. Why are you asking the Supreme Court to quash the High Court's ruling on this matter?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers around the world. So the point that we are making is that the Supreme Court is already seized with the matter, and it will be expedient for a High Court judge who has also been approached on the matter almost on all fours, as we say in law, with the matter that is before him. Just like his brother at the criminal, jurisdiction of the High Court did, he stayed the proceedings and made the referral to the Supreme Court for Supreme Court to determine the constitutionality or otherwise of Section 4.2 of the OSP Act 2017, Act 959. So in the face of all of these proceedings at the Supreme Court, then it was a bit too much hasty. The indecent haste of the High Court to proceed with the matter, meant that he's overreaching the powers of the Supreme Court. Now, if there is confusion at the bar as to the true meaning, scope, and effects of a provision, whether or not it violates and contaminates aspects of the Constitution, it is only the Supreme Court that has the province to make that pronouncement. Yes, the High Court can look at a law and see whether aspects of the law should stand or not. But to determine the constitutionality, it is only the Supreme Court. And in the plaintiff's application, the plaintiff's statement of case specifically made mention and made reference to the fact that upon a true and proper interpretation of Article 88.4 of the 1992 Constitution, Section 4.2 of Act 95, Act 959 violates and contaminates the Constitution. Who is in the best position to make that pronouncement? It is not the province of the High Court. It is the Supreme Court that should be making that pronouncement. So we think that just like his brother on the other High Court criminal, jurisdiction that made the pronouncement, he should have also stayed and done the referral, and all of us will be guided across the country, including all the lower courts, the OSP, the Attorney General, Parliament, and everybody will be guided by the authoritative pronouncement that will come from the Supreme Court. That wasn't done. I think that it is a good enough case for the OSP to approach the Supreme Court to seek a writ of certiorari to quash the decision of the High Courts.
Mr. Tampuli, don't go yet. Let me bring in your former colleague in Parliament, Inusa Hussaini. Mr. Hussaini, welcome to the program. Clearly, the minority appears to have a point, because the core objective of establishing the OSP is to ensure independent prosecutions. And if this decision is not quashed, it could undermine the entire anti-corruption fight. Is that a strong argument, you'd say?
Thank you, Jesse, and let me send my regards to my brother, Alassane Tampuli. And to say that, yes, we are in tight straits. Because the mischief that was intended to be cured by the establishment of the Office of a Special Prosecutor was precisely because it was believed that because the Attorney General is the government appointee and sits in cabinet with his colleagues, it might be very difficult, way nigh impossible, to prosecute members of his government and his colleague ministers if they are involved in corruption. And so it was important to establish an office that will be specially dedicated to fighting corruption, that will be insulated against political interference, that will be given operational independence, financial independence, and structural independence. I've heard many people say that we established an independent special prosecutor. We didn't. In fact, the long title of the Act puts it beyond doubt that we didn't establish an independent prosecutor. Indeed, the nomination of the special prosecutor further buttresses the point that the special prosecutor is not independent of the Attorney General, but his office is insulated from interference by the provisions of the Act. And I think that the earlier we got it right, the better. That the nomination, it is the Attorney General who nominates the special prosecutor for the President. And the President submits him to Parliament because we wanted a bipartisan consensus on who should be the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor was subject to vetting and then approved by Parliament. And so this was the architectural design or institutional framework that we put in place to insulate that office, ensure that it has operational independence, it has financial independence and structural independence, or institutional independence if you want. So again, let me state with that, ad nauseum, that we did not establish an office of an independent prosecutor. The prosecutor is not independent of the Attorney General, but his office and his work is insulated against political interference.
Then the question that many are asking is, can the OSP remain effective if it must rely on the Attorney General?
No, because we thought relying will defeat the purpose for which the office was created.
Right.
Relying with signal control. And control will mean interference. Interference will mean the Attorney General will determine the cases the special prosecutor will prosecute. It means that some people who are politically aligned might not get investigated and prosecuted at all. And so that will defeat the purpose for which that office was established.
Right. Mr. Fuseni, don't go yet. Let me bring back Hassan Tampuli. You've been listening to your former colleague in Parliament, but you raised another question in Parliament today that you are looking for the background of one Archibald Hyde. Have you found it now?
As a matter of fact, it's an assignment that we have given to you. We have given you some leads so that you go pursue it and then, stretch your investigative tentacles and then determine who that person is.
And based on your assignment that you've done, can you give us leads? Who is he?
Oh, it is from the press statements that we read that he is not somebody that you can say is a disinterested party. He's a very fully political person, fully gapped and fully involved in our political space and coming in as if it was a disinterested party or somebody who is just taking up his civic responsibility. We think that the person is doing politics. He has political, his political lens on. Right. And it is part of the grand assignment agenda to decimate the office of the special prosecutor.
Let's assume without admitting that he has political affiliations. Why does it matter?
It matters because, we have given you the sequence of events. How they tried to move or to decimate the office from Parliament, that failed, or it was stalled. Then they came through the executive through petitions, that also stalled. And all of these things were done by elements who are associated with the ruling party. Then we now come to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, the Attorney General clearly tells us that, look, OSP should not be allowed to join this suit. He is the nominal defender who will defend the OSP. Subsequently, the OSP now says that, the case that has been brought by the plaintiff, there's nothing wrong with that case. He agrees substantially with the case of the plaintiff. You have stopped the OSP from joining the suit, and then you go and say that, please proceed. Whatever you say, you are right. You understand? Now, you recall that when the majority leader and the majority chief whip attempted to introduce the private members bill to repeal the office, His Excellency the President of the Republic intervened, and a statement was issued to that effect by the Minister for Government Communications. Now, with all of this going on, and with the Attorney General's statement of case filed at the Supreme Court, we're hoping that the vim with which the President stopped the leadership of Parliament from proceeding against the Office of the Special Prosecutor would be the same vim that the President would hold the Attorney General and say, look, please, allow the OSP to work. And in the words of the President himself, he said that is the best example of independent prosecutorial authority that we have. So what has changed? So at every turn of the way, you find elements within the government or people associated with the ruling party who are championing this cause. Right from the beginning, up to this point, it is elements who are associated with the NDC who are pushing. What are they afraid of? What is their fear? What exactly is their fear? For instance, Deputy Attorney General says, for instance, that, look, we have to give the OSP authorization before he proceeds. What stops them from giving him the authorization? Assuming all this, hula baloo is about the OSP not having authorization, some of us believe that by virtue of what is provided for in the Act and the airline, especially Regulation 11, we believe that The AG can grant the fiat through an executive instrument, which has always been the case, or through an LI. And we believe that the LI has sufficiently provided authorization. But if they insist that the authorization is absent, then what stops them from just doing the authorization and let sleeping dogs lie? What are we afraid of? Is the OSP coming for somebody that they are very uncomfortable with? I don't know. I don't know.
Mr.
But if I see the danger,
right?
The danger in all of these things that's happening is that, look, the investment community is watching. The diplomatic community is watching. I am aware of meetings that have taken place, for instance, within the diplomatic circles about what is going on. What exactly is the government's commitment to fighting corruption? What can you say that you have done? The Attorney General hasn't shown any clear indication that they are going to fight corruption in a very impartial and dispassionate way. Especially when the Attorney General took office, started filing nulli prosequia and withdrawing cases against elements who were connected with the ruling party. So what it means is that if this Attorney General gets a chance to move the special prosecutor from that space, we are going to have an Attorney General, and it is not just this Attorney General, many attorneys general, and like my senior Honorable Idrissa Fusini said, they have difficulty. They have difficulty pursuing their police in cabinet or even party persons or even government appointees. They have difficulties in doing that. And this is the best opportunity for us to have an architecture that is devoid of government control, that will do the work on the behalf of Ghanaians. All of us have been shouting on the rooftops, we have to fight corruption. This government, when it was in opposition, was saying the same thing. So what is it that the Attorney General wants that the OSP is not doing? What is it?
A big question you ask. Hassan Tampuli, thank you very much. Is the Deputy Ranking Member on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee. Let me wrap up with you, Mr. Yunusa Hussaini. You have been listening to your former colleague in Parliament, but there are concerns and questions that the law should be amended to clarify the OSP's independence. Is that a call you support?
Well, first, let me state clearly without any fear of equivocation. In a democracy, no institution is designed from the onset to be perfect.
Right.
Now, so as the institution weathers storm and as experiences gather, the institution itself renews itself and strengthens its core mandate by the experiences that it will encounter during the performance of its function. So, if an amendment to the Constitution will secure for us what we intended to secure through an Act of Parliament, the Constitutional Review Committee has already answered that. The Special Prosecutor also knows that he will be better protected through a constitutional architecture. But be it as it may, we set up an institution, be it an imperfect institution, for a specific function. And that function was fighting corruption. And we set it up precisely because there was no institution which was performing these functions to the legitimate expectation of Ghanaians. So there was a lacuna, there was a gap. The Special Prosecutor was designed to fill in that gap. Yes, even in the debates in Parliament, we pointed out that it was not going to be possible to break the monopoly of prosecution vested in the Attorney General. The only way to set up an act that will be consistent with the Constitution was to enable the Special Prosecutor to draw his powers from the Attorney General. And so the Attorney General needed to give a fiat. by Article 88(4). But in overcoming the exercise of the discretion, in our view, in trying to overcome the exercise of discretion in the way as to give or not to give the Attorney General authorization, the present Attorney General argued that we put the authorization in a constitutional instrument or a legislative instrument. We finally settled for a legislative instrument, and that is what Honorable Tampule has referred to in Regulation 11 of the regulations, the legislative regulations for the effective implementation of the functions of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So let's see how the Supreme Court will interpret that. I think that is the fulcrum, that is the beef of the lowest petition to the Supreme Court. That is to say, can Parliament legislatively, or if you want statutorily, authorize the Attorney General or delegate the prosecutorial powers of the Attorney General to another institution? Can Parliament do that? Can we do that legislatively? Can we do that statutorily? I think that is the basis, the fulcrum of the argument in the Supreme Court. And we pray that the Supreme Court will expedite action on this matter and determine this case so that the special prosecutor can either continue or be disbanded. But I fear that if the special prosecutor's office is disbanded, we will go back to the status quo ante, and we will have lost the fight against corruption. It is not only NDC elements who are jubilating over the decision of the High Court. And my brother, Mr. Tampule, knows that. Honorable Tampule knows that. I've since heard a former Attorney General, Ayiko Otu, say that even within the FPP, when they were drafting their manifesto and putting the promise to establish an office of the special prosecutor, if the people of this country gave them the mandate, they knew that that office would not work. I have been alarmed. In fact, I'm embarrassed by that admission. I've also heard Michael Kwe, who presided, Professor Michael Kwe, who presided over the first laying, the first reading, the second reading, and the consideration stage and passage of the law, say that the law was unconstitutional. And I said, what were we doing then? So it is not only members of the NDC and some members of the NDC, to be right, who are saying that the bill is unconstitutional. And even in Parliament, as we debated, you could see that the minority then, of whom I was the ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, took a position that we needed to design an architecture that will be consistent with the Constitution, lest the office will be declared unconstitutional.
In
conclusion.
Okay, briefly.
The office of the special prosecutor is important for us as a country. It's important in fighting corruption. It's not a perfect institution, but it will perfect itself over time. The occupants of the office will perfect their activities over time. We're building on an institutional experience that will transcend this present generation into the future. Nations have done it, and have done it well. And so there is good practice out there that we can learn from.
Right. Inusa Hussaini, thank you very much. He's a former chairman of the Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. In other stories this afternoon, the coalition of civil society organizations, including Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Imani Africa, and Africa Center for Energy Policy are raising alarm over recent court decisions affecting the office of the special prosecutor. The group says actions by the Attorney General and a High Court ruling declaring parts of the OSP Act unconstitutional could derail ongoing corruption cases and weaken accountability efforts. The response comes on the back of comments from government efforts led by the Attorney General's office, confirming that steps have already been taken for the AG's office to assume control of cases by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi says a fully independent system, potentially with an autonomous director of public prosecutions, remains the ultimate goal in tackling corruption and politically exposed crimes. He argues the separation of the roles will eliminate political interference and strengthen accountability.
The answer has always been in having a strong and independent Attorney General. And so, if you remember right from the onset, particularly somewhere from the year 2012, the call from all stakeholders, including the major political parties, had been the decoupling of the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice. And so, it is not a new call, but it is a long-term approach to fighting graft and fighting political crimes generally. The OSP was supposed to be a stopgap in this, and so that by the time we get to a completely independent, we get to amend the Constitution by decoupling the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice, and or having a completely autonomous Director of Public Prosecution who is independent of the Attorney General's office, would have been able to fight corruption from a certain point all the way until that day when we finally see the light. It is not something that can be done today and achieve the results rapidly. It's something that we look forward to in the constitutional amendment, which, thanks to God, we have gone back to the drawing table and now vigorously pursuing it. And so, yes, it is a good call. It is the ultimate we look for, but that should also come with a strengthened office which could either complement the OSP or a measure of the two to fight corruption and political crime.
Well, the civil society groups in a statement are calling for the independence of the Special Prosecutor's Office and the Attorney General's Office. Here are excerpts of that particular statement. It says for over 2 decades, Ghanaians have made it clear that they want an independent public prosecutor separate from the Attorney General to prosecute crimes generally. It continues to say that the rationale, backed by years of empirical evidence, was that the AG, as a political appointee, is conflicted in his ability and motivation to prosecute members of his government, particularly cabinet colleagues. It continues to say that as such, the prosecution of corruption has focused on prosecuting members of a previous regime following a change in government. This was captured in the Africa Peer Review Mechanism Assessment of Ghana in 2004. This policy was adopted by Parliament in the first National Anti-Corruption Action Plan in 2015 and launched by President John Mahama during his first term. The group says that in 2017, following a campaign promise to set up an office of the Special Prosecutor to deal with corruption cases involving politically exposed persons, the Akufo-Addo regime initiated and passed the OSP Act 2017, Act 959. The step was seen as a first step to fully implementing the objective of creating the role of an independent public prosecutor when a constitutional review process came around. Those are excerpts of the statement that have been released jointly by the CSOs. Let's bring in some legal perspective. And joining me on Zoom right now is a member of Parliament for Menchia South constituency and also a lawyer, Nana Bafo-Ewuah. Welcome to the program, Nana. Do you agree that Ghana needs a fully independent prosecutorial system to effectively fight corruption? Please unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Unfortunately, we've lost Nana Bafo-Ewuah on the line. He is a member for Menchia in the Ashanti region. We're trying to reconnect with him once again. But in the meantime, though, we take a quick break. We'll return with more. Hello again. Thousands of residents across 5 districts in the Volta region are on the verge of displacement as relentless tidal waves continue to swallow homes, farmlands, and entire livelihoods. More than 100 coastal communities, we're told, now stand dangerously close to collapse, raising fears of a full-blown humanitarian crisis. Residents are urgently calling on the government to act as the destruction intensifies by the day. despite a reported $150 million facility secured from the World Bank under the West Africa Coastal Areas Phase 2 program to address the crisis. There has still been little visible progress 3 years on. And this afternoon, I'm joined in the studio by the Member of Parliament for Anlo constituency, Richard Kwame Sefe. Also joining the conversation on Zoom are climate activist Joel Deju, and also joining us is coastal development expert Dr. Selom Abebio. Wanda Sechuafia is the municipal director of NADMO in the Keta municipality. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me in studio and also via video link. I want to begin with you, MP, in the studio. How are people in Anlo coping, knowing that they've been promised of relief coming to them 3 years on, nothing has happened?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity once again. And let me thank this platform. Since yesterday, they've been of help with other media houses. The issue in Angloga district and other adjoining districts has been very, very devastating. To just mention the lowest word I can use, if there are other threatening words. In fact, when you understand the terrain very well, you realize that somebody who has toiled throughout his whole life, one day he will just wake up and realize that he has to relocate. As if that wasn't enough, he has to relocate again. That is the situation. Women, children, the young ones and whoever, everybody is just not happy. The problem was that when this thing happened or started about 15, 14 years ago, people thought it is going to affect only people around Puvema, Pokpogbo, and those who are living along the coast there. But what is happening now is that about 5 districts, as we mentioned, will be affected if this current situation is not checked. Why am I saying this? About 14 years ago, VRA, who used to dredge the River Volta at the estuary, could not do it any longer. As a result, the mouth of the estuary got choked. Instead of the river to flow freely into the sea, it now diverts its course towards the lagoon, that's Keta Lagoon, through its channels. As a result, whenever we have flash waters, that's rain or whatever, then already the Keta Lagoon will burst its banks and tend to affect communities. For now, Angloga, if you take Angloga has about 36 communities at the upper area that we call Shima. About 9 communities in the Koma area and along the coast. And all those communities that I mentioned, most of them, whenever there are flash waters and the bank of Revolta is up, you realize that they are always under the water. That's Anglogan alone. Right. So Anglogan all put together, about 60 communities will be affected. Then we move to Keta. Keta, we have one of the biggest communities called Atiavi. Atiavi also has suburbs. Then you now move to Bolover, Angolofi, Anyako, and few others. Then including Anglo-Fiarenigma. Then you move to Katu South, where you talk of Agbozuma, you talk of Klikor, you talk of Aglopi, and few other communities, even up to Aflau. You also come to Saftong, where about 6, 7, 8 communities will also be affected. Now, because the river could no more flow straightly into the sea, what happens is that the sea has now cut a very big mass of land and forcing itself into the river. Instead of it to flow or connect with the river, it cut another channel that is flowing into. And the volume of water that is coming each day and the pressure that is coming is enough to tell you that if nothing is done immediately, I suspect in a month's time, most of those communities, over 100 of them, will be submerged. That is the dire situation that we find ourselves. And my brother, the people are no more ready, especially the Jaflagbe, they are no more there. Normally, if these things happen, you see people rushing there with food items, mattresses, blankets, and what have you. The people told me, as their representative, that they are no more interested in those things. What they needed is just the government coming to replicate what happens or what is going on in Togo and Benin, where they reclaim the land and protect it. Not that they will come and just protect the existing coastline, which is even no more. That is what they wanted. So, surprisingly, we sent people from Ghana to go and benchmark what is happening or what happened in Togo and Benin. They came back and got sacked.
How long ago was that?
About a year ago. Meanwhile, World Bank, through the worker, released $150 million for Ministry of Science and Environment to take action on this. You only hear of workshops, meetings, as we are speaking now. They moved them from Keta Anglogan zone there, not to any place, to Eburi. Have you ever seen sea in Eburi? If anything at all, they want some peaceful environment to operate. Why can't they go to Tegbi, Keta, and those is so that as people are complaining now, they will move to site and see things for themselves. Would they move from Eburi to Anglogan to see these things? The question is, we are asking the ministry, is the $150 million still in the account? How much or what percentage have they used for some of these meetings and workshops? My brother, the problem is what we are hearing. If it is true, I can assure you that we, the people of Anglo, the country will not be able to contain us, because we have now lost almost everything. We think we would like to blame one government and the other. Now, my government is in power. I don't have any excuse to give to the people anymore. The people who voted for me, who voted for the government, they almost always every day complain. And I don't have any answer to give them. If you were the one, what will you have done?
Are you disappointed that your government is not taking enough action to fight this?
For now, not, I may say 40% disappointed. Because I'm hoping that the president, being a listening president, will take action. You know, we don't need so much for now. We are saying that let them use part of the money to go and start the dredging of the river. If they start to dredge the river now, I can assure you that within 1 month, 2 months, the river will now go and mix up with the... One thing that happens, the chemistry that happens there is that normally the sea will not allow foreign materials, such as any foreign water to come and just join, simply like that. So because the river is also flowing at a particular speed, it carries debris along. And the sea will fight the debris. Along that, the waves, the force of the waves becomes very low. We are saying that just start with that one for us. That's number one. Number two, replicate what is happening in Benin, Togo. The engineers who operated there under the World Bank project are not dead. Bring them in so that they can start something. But you say you are going to plant trees, you are doing ABC. Plants, are they not to survive on land? Plants, are they arboreal materials? They are plants must survive on land. And the lands are not being reclaimed. Where are we now? That is the beef of my people.
Right.
I wish Parliament is in session so that these two questions will be posed to the ministry and the certificate of agency to come and answer, so that our people will have some peace. That is the issue now.
Right. You mentioned that Waka is meeting at Ibri. So we want to take you there live right now and speak to the municipal director of NADMO in the Keta municipality, Wanda Sechofia. Wanda, we understand that Waka is currently meeting in the eastern region. What is being discussed? Unfortunately, we do not have Wanda yet. We'll try to reconnect the lines and get back to him. But let's go to Joel Duje. We know Deg, yeah. Right. Joel Deg. We know the government is currently erecting a sea defense. So why are we raising the concerns that 100 communities there face existential threat due to tidal waves?
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. And I want to thank my MP in the studio for what he's doing since Friday or so when this issue came up. Truly speaking, the 7-6 districts that adjoin the Keta Lagoon complex are under existential threat due to climate change actions, tidal waves, sea erosion, and other things like the flooding we are experiencing when the lagoon gets out of its banks. Last Friday hasn't been easy for the people of Uveme, Japlagbe, Aklautoko, and others because the tide went higher than the normal tide that occurs every month. So what happened, we saw, is just the tip of the iceberg. If nothing is done and that land is breached, then communities like Japlagbe, Atipeti, Agledomi, Jita, Aklautoko, Atoko, Adakoji, Ovuti, Strongbe, will be following suit because we have a coastal shoreline, a sandy coastline, not a rocky coastline. So the sun is nothing in front of the raging waves at all. It's going to wear away them like an ice that is melting when subjected to heat. So these 100 communities between Uveme and Popobo, as the MP said it, these communities have been wiped off the map of Ghana. Popobo, Bakwebo, Uveme, Japlagbe, they are no longer counted. So we need to reduce even the map of Ghana when we are asking our students to draw the map of Ghana now. Now, the question is, Waka was supposed to have started in 2023 and end in 2027. It's a 5-year program, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. We are about a year to the end of this duration, but nothing concrete on the ground has happened. As my MP said it, I was in Benin for the past 7 years, and I've seen Waka Phase 1 done in Togo from Agbodrafo to Aneho, then from Ilakonji to Grand Popo in Benin. A beautiful coastal engineering work done there to salvage years of coastal erosion that took place there. So, as if you want to reinvent the wheel in Ghana is something that some of us have questioned all this while. The project was done by a Dutch company called Boskalis. Boskalis identified sand deposits under the sea and dredged the sand and replenish the worn-away beaches in what we call the sand engine or the sand motors. Over 6.4 million metric cube of sand has been deposited on the beach. And the beach itself, through the actions of the waves, have used the sand motors or the sand engine to replenish the beaches east of the communities where the sand has been deposited. So what has happened 3-4 days ago in Anglogan district is just the last natural call that if Ghana remain reticent in the face of these glaring and threatening issues, then nobody should blame nature, but we should blame authority. Whichever authority is in power now should be blamed for allowing a bigger portion of southern Volta to be worn away. The 100 communities being mentioned by the MP is just the big communities. the smaller communities, if I start mentioning them, we could be counting over 200 communities in Southern Volta that's going to be affected.
Right.
So we are calling on Ministry of Finance, who is in charge of the 150 million WACA money, in addition to the 5 million that is the grant from, I think, NORAD Fund or Pro Blue. I think the delay has been so costly to us. People who have been on this post for the past 40, 50 years and have seen what happened the last 25 years under this coastal erosion. I think the earlier something is done, the better for us. Because World Bank has approved the money in December 2023, and the project was launched at Tempiski, I think last year in August or so. And over a year and a half, we haven't seen any concrete action on the ground.
Right.
Something some of us are not happy at all, because you can only talk about it if you are a victim, if you are a sufferer. And we have suffered enough in order to, continue to be at the mercy of the sea when money has been allocated for this project. So I think the call is timely. The call is the latest. We have been patient for long, and we don't want to seem as people who have taken the law into our own hand and marching from Angloganketa, Aplau towards the seat of government in Accra. It won't be the best for us, but the best is what we are doing, the pleading and the calling on government to do what it must do. Others have taken the lead. Togo, Benin, Sao Tome and Principe, and Senegal, Mauritania have done the phase 1 and have done it beautifully.
Yeah, Joel.
And there's no reason why.
Hello, Joel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, that was going to be my next question to you. Our neighbors Benin and Togo were given the same amounts. They've been able to do phase 1, as you've mentioned to us. We've not even started. Why?
Yeah, that is the question. Nobody has come out to answer us, from Ministry of Finance, MESTI, Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, or Ministry of Works and Housing, LUSPA, Land Use and Spatial Planning, and Ministry of Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, and all other parastatal institutions like Hydrological Authority and others. These are the agencies that are coming together to do this work. Right. So if they haven't come out with any official communique telling the whole country and the whole world that these are the reasons, or this is the only reason why they are not doing anything, I think they haven't helped us all these 3-4 years running now. Right. So we want an official communique from the authority to tell us what has made the project to stall up to this time. Because we have seen it. Togo and Benin received less than $55 million, and they use it to do a beautiful work. And we have received over 3 times that amount and has not done anything. I think it's time we tell the people that we are tired and we want to see concrete action on the ground. As our MP said it, we don't want to protect the already worn away coast. We want beach replenishment. We want beach nourishment. And they should identify the sediment, the sand sediment under the beach, bring in the company that did the work in Togo and Benin to come and dredge the sand and reclaim at least 300, 400, 500 meters of coast for us, so that people will get back to their former land and not lose the ancestral line totally.
Joel, I'll come back to you. Let me now bring in Selim Jaklo. Welcome to the program. 3 years after the WACA fund was procured, nothing has happened. What does this mean for affected residents?
Good afternoon to you. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Good. Good afternoon to you and your cherished listeners. The inability of the WACA project to start in Ghana is quite baffling, something we've been thinking of. People in academia, those of us in consultancy, we've been thinking about it and figuring out why hasn't that project started. Ghana has been at the forefront of coastal erosion management. We think that the awareness is there. If you listen to the MP, what he said, and the gentleman who just spoke, they are quite knowledgeable about what is going on. And we've had the effects, and each time we have the effects, we make a little bit of noise, the seasonal noise, and everything dies down, which is becoming a problem. Why the WACA money has not yet been released, it's a major headache. I hear, or I'm getting the intelligence from some sources that even the World Bank seems to be getting a little bit impatient with us. Why countries like Togo and Benin could easily do this? We know what to do, but up till now, we haven't started. Lethargy, is it something else slowing us down? I know WACAF has a Ghanaian coordinator. It's on their website. Maybe we should get him to tell us why haven't we started a project?
Right.
And then the ministries that oversee this, maybe we need to ask them hard questions. Maybe, again, there are too many players involved in this particular thing. Hydrological Service Authority, Ministry of Works and Housing, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the money service at EPA. Maybe the management or the localization of the project has not been done well. I don't know. I'm just, thinking through it, because up to now, Ghanaians, as we know ourselves, we have this money sitting down for several years. We have the problem. People are being impacted. People are being affected. People are losing their livelihoods and their property. And up till now, we haven't done anything with the money, apart from, like you said, workshops and workshop upon workshops about the workshops. It's becoming something that we need to strongly speak about. And I'm happy that you have the MP on the panel. Again, this is something that you should push through Parliament strongly, because at the end of the day, they oversee everybody. So they should be able to ask the ministers involved, what is wrong? Why is that money sitting there? Have we misappropriated? Have we used for something else? So that's what I think about the WACAF lack of action. It's not like we don't have the money. The money is sitting there. We should be doing something. And then, go on.
From your point of view, what does the delay in the release of these funds mean for the fight against coastal erosion?
Okay, so like I said, I am getting the information trickling down that the World Bank may be becoming disappointed with us, how we are managing the money. And so we could maybe even lose out on it. That's the first one. The second one is coastal erosion in West Africa. If you look at the coastline of West Africa, it's a little bit linear. So coastal erosion always tends to have transboundary effects. So something in one country affects another country. I believe that is why this fund was sourced for a number of countries on the West African coastline. So if our neighbors do it, they use the money to protect their coastline, develop it, and make it beautiful, and we are not able to do it, then we suffer from one, being left out, to not being part of the coastal erosion and coastal protection measures that are coming up. We may not get further or future tranches of money or project if it comes. We would have to rely on ourselves. We do not come to the table, with clean hands and say that, this is an issue that we need to look at from transboundary perspective, because our neighbors will say, yes, but we did our best. You didn't do anything. We cannot blame anybody for it. So those are the ramifications of not starting this project and just keeping the money idling somewhere. It's quite a headache for some of us, and I think it's about time all of us apply the pressure. And Joy FM is doing very well, Joy TV. Let's get the pressure rolling. Eventually, they would find answers.
I'll come back to you, gentlemen, and you too, MP. But right now, let's take you to Ebri and speak to Wanda Sechofia. He's the Municipal Director of NADMO at the Keta Municipality. Wanda, welcome to the program. We understand you are at that WACA meeting in the Eastern region. What is being discussed there, really?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers. We are currently at a meeting at Ebri, and then we are discussing a lot of issues.
Can you kindly speak up for us so we can hear you?
Yeah, we are discussing a lot of issues concerning the economics of our local hosts in the three municipalities, that's Anglogan District, Keta, and then Ketusa. At the same time, we are also discussing the environment, we are discussing the infrastructure, we are discussing the the facilities that will make the project, how will I put it, a concrete one. So in a nutshell, we are here to finalize the facilities that will be on the ground when the worker project starts. For example, when the worker project, we know that it includes a lot of things, the physical aspect and then the theoretical aspect. So that is what we are dealing with in Aburi. We have experts like agri sector, we have the physical planning, we have the engineers, we have the water resources, and then a lot of experts here. We are discussing things that will complete the worker project on the ground.
Wonder, it's been 3 years since these funds were released by WACA. Why are these preliminary issues now being discussed in Aburi when they should have been discussed about 3 years ago?
To be frank with you, I cannot speak to that because there are authorities that have to answer that question. Because for us, I am just a NADMO director in case whatever suggestion or whatever programs being organized, they invite us to come and contribute our quota to talk about our experience in the disaster management that will lead to the worker project. So that is what we are talking about here. So if we want to get concrete evidence about the 2023 to 2026, why the worker project still in a non-existence, we should be asking the ministry involved, the technical people involved, the World Bank personnel in Ghana. We should be asking them those questions.
There are not concerns that the 150 million, which was released by NACA, is being spent on conferences like the one you are at the moment. If you can help us understand, how many people are at this particular conference, who is organizing it? Can you tell us?
For that one, I'm not allowed to speak on that, but I can say that we are about getting to 40. We have the Angoga district is presenting about 14, Keta 14, Ketu South 14, and then Region 2 is presenting something, and then from others from the ministry I don't know about. So,
I would want you to speak up for me because I'm losing you again.
Yes, what I'm saying is that we have 3 municipalities or 3 districts partaking in this particular meeting or workshop. I think the workshop has started far back 2023. So they are just building on it. So it comes now what we are having here too. I don't know either we will be called later or whatever I get. So for me, I can't speak to the meeting.
Right.
But if you can talk about the disaster in my community, that one I can speak to.
Three years.
I was just invited to come to a meeting and come and contribute my.
Perfectly understood.
I come and talk about the disaster issues on my community or in my municipality. So that's what
You are from the communities where the coastal erosion has become very rife. How is the delay in executing this project affecting the community? Paint a picture for us.
It is very severe, and then I will say that it is pathetic, because now if this year nothing starts at this year, we will see that a lot of things will be haywire. If you look at what is happening at Uvemen in Angoga district, I could realize that the same thing happened some years back. After that, then the same thing happened at Ketak, Aborigine, and Abuchakope, Ketikope area there. So if care is not taken, maybe after the sea have destroyed Uvemen, then it will turn back to my community or my municipality, which the affected community will be Abuchakope community, Ketikope community, and then some parts of Jelukope will also be affected. So we would like to, for me, I will appeal to my government or the government currently to come to our aid, and for those things should not occur to destroy a lot of things. Because what we have now, all our properties, livelihoods, and then properties have gone into the sea. And then the sea too is now eating the land. So we are begging, or we are pleading with the government to come to our aid and then help us with the worker project. This worker project will definitely solve our problems in a coastal area, for talking about Anglogan District, Keta and Ketusa. So for this Walker project, we need it badly, we need it urgently to come and solve a lot of problems in our community.
Wanda, you're currently at this WACA meeting in the Eastern region. Do you sense some sense of urgency there, that the people want this done urgently, really?
Yes, of course. All of us in the meeting, we are lamenting about it. All of us, my 3 NATMO coordinators are here, and then we are discussing this. We have physical planning department from these 3 districts. We have the works and housing heads. We have the physical development, physical planning. We have the Greek. Most everybody is here. So we are all thinking about how this project should start early for us to get these problems solved. Because our livelihood is being taken out of our people. Our properties are going into the sea. A lot of issues. The fisher folks are suffering. The fishmongers, the students, everybody in our communities are suffering. So we need this project fast for us to get rid of this type of sea erosion, tidal waves, and so on and so forth.
You being the NADMO Municipal Director in Ketu Municipality, how prepared are you as NADMO to tackle such issues?
To be sincere with you, in Ketu Municipality, I would say that for NADMO, we are doing a lot of education, we are doing a lot of training and so forth. But to say we are ready should this disaster comes to us, we are not ready per se, because we need a lot of things, a lot of relief items. We need a lot of things that maybe some safe havens for our people. We need a lot of relief items, some machines, so that we can be able to dredge some areas for our people when this tidal wave happens. So please, we are not ready as a municipal assembly per se, but I would say that in a nutshell, I will just add my voice to the MP's voice, and then to Joy Beck, and then the number of people who are calling for this project to come on quickly for us to be relieved from this tension and so forth and so on.
Right.
Because this project is coming to serve a lot of things in Keta and Angoga and Ketusa. Our livelihood will be served, and then our properties will be served. Currently, if you look at Keta, the Keta is below sea level. So we are just under the sea or something like that. So if we are calling for this project to come and save us, so that a lot of the sand will be reclaimed and some places the well will be put, and then so forth, so that the fisher folks can be free and go to fishing, and then the fishmongers also can be free and work on their fish industry, so that Keta, Angoga, and Ketusa will be free from this type of troubles day in, day out.
Right. Wanda Sechofia, thank you very much. He's the Municipal Director of NADMO in the Keta Municipality. We also heard Joel Dej, who is a climate activist. Coastal management expert Dr. Selom Jakko also joined the conversation there. Gentlemen, I don't want you to go yet, because I want to give the MP for the area, Anlo area, some time to also have the conversation with us. MP, you've been listening to all these commentary that have been raised. Let's start with the NADMO official who is currently at the WACA conference. For 3 years. For 3 years now, they've been going to conferences when neighboring countries are already executing phase 1 of the project. Do you get the sense that there's any urgency to even begin this project?
Thank you very much once again. You see, the more I listen to some of these things, the more I get annoyed. My brother, imagine this, 3 good years. That's why I've been, if I tell people they just use part of the money for conferences, workshops, and meetings, people thought I was joking. 3 good years. So I can tell you that when he resumed power as NADMO director, maybe a year today, he might have been invited for more than 3-4 times. Remember, other people are also being invited. They hardly come to the communities to organize meetings and engage the people. Normally, you see, you are coming to solve problem. Let's say you are coming to solve problem for Ghana. Then you are launching the program in, let's say, Algeria. Is that in? I don't know how to say it, so that I don't offend the sensibilities of the people. The problem is with Ghana. Then you are going to Algeria to organize the launching. The problem is within Qatar, Anglogan, Ketu South Enclave. You are coming to Kempinski to launch it. Is that in? What word can I use?
I know a lot, but yes. I can't say.
So it's just not in place. That's the softest I can use. You know, let me tell you, the consultant for the project has been procured over a year ago. The consultant for the project has been procured over a year ago and been paid for work not done. As of today. I don't know why they have the temerity to just organize another meeting upon all the meetings I've been organizing and send it to Eburi. That's what I was asking. Can they organize this one along the coast so that people will feel the presence? Even if this one is ongoing, the problem that we are having now, they could go to the people and tell them, oh, you know what? It's because of some of this that we are organizing this meeting. So we put things in place. Look at the distance from Eburi to Anglogan. If I'm not mistaken, it may be over 200 kilometers. That is the best they could do for us. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
You just mentioned that the consultant has been paid. Do you know how much he's been paid?
Oh, that one I can't tell for now. But if you procure somebody's services, you know the person will not go and be hanging somewhere. Most of the issues on the ground, we are not alien to it. We are on top of issues. Though we are not engineers,
right?
But we have the knowledge, the local knowledge to impact to them. The most problematic issue we are having is that those who are now living in makeshift buildings, the coconut front that they use, the branches that they use to cover the down, the coconuts are almost gone. So virtually, they cannot just use anything to cover up. And feeding is becoming a problem. Do you know, we have formerly there is a pontoon or boat that moves from Akuse Amerike to Adanfo on market days. Then from Adanfo to Anyangwi. Because the sea has now deposited its content onto the river, what happens is that the channels are now closed. So if you cannot move with the smaller boat to Adan for now. So already, if you want to leave Anyangwi to Adanfo, it means you have to use Dabala to Soga Road, come to Adanfo, come to Kase, then you move to Adanfo. Meanwhile, you could use from Anyangwi to Adanfo within 15-20 minutes. You see the problem we are creating for ourselves.
But can they not use their boats and canoes to Adanfo?
It cannot be used anymore because the sandbar has been pushed to cover up the part of the channel. So if you want to use it, then it means somebody has to ferry you from Anyangwi to a point at the center of the river, then another team will take you to Adanfo. Why can this thing be tolerated? Our chiefs have been begging all these years. Our mafia, we held some of the meetings within the premises of our mafia of Anglo. Still, nothing. Our mafia, Dan Abodakpi, got involved. My former, my predecessor, Honorable Kofi Umaru, wrote letters upon letters to VRA for them to come to continue the dredging. They also said the dredger got spoiled. And I'm saying that is worker executives or management, are they not aware of this? So that they will be able to start the dredging for other things to follow? Do we need any rocket science to do some of these things? That is my problem.
What is the immediate thing that you want done?
The immediate thing I want done for us, there are two basic things, two for now. Worker, resource, whoever, to come and start the dredging of the estuary for the free flow of the river into the sea in order to fight the waves for now. Number two, what I think they should be thinking of is they should put all their meetings and whatever on hold and come to start with the reclamation. I am saying that I am a teacher before becoming an MP. We have a basic maxim in teaching that we learn from known to unknown. So what we know now is that people came to work in Benin and Togo. So common computer science knowledge, even if you want to use the copycat, the cat should be reasonable that you can be able to copy. So go and bring the people.
Yeah.
For them to come and work here. If they use $55 million to do that, it presupposes that, though you may say there are other factors, it presupposes that if 3 times that, you'll be surprised. You wait. I can assure you, if Parliament resumes, you see more fire concerning this.
Yeah,
we'll ask the questions.
I think that's more worrying that people are using almost 1/3 of that.
Yes.
And they've started already, and we have...
They have done. I wish I have the video here. I will show you the video before I leave here. You'll be surprised.
Briefly,
that is what they have done.
Right. How many people have been displaced as a result of this?
For the earlier ones, they calculated them on household basis. So a household may be 3, 4, 5, depending on the size. As at that time, they captured about 900 households.
Oh dear, that's a huge number.
Yes, we are saying that a whole community that contained about 1,000 people got wiped off. Then another one followed. That is the Fuvama itself. But Fuvama people plus the earlier people, they moved to what we call Jaflagbe, and still they are not surviving. And what we do is that if it happens like that, then you see the NGOs, government, NADMO coming with a few bags of rice, maize, and what have you. And the people are saying that, Honorable Suffer, when you go, tell them they don't need those things anymore. They want to remain there, die more better than coming to hand them out those things.
Right. MP, I'll give you the final word, but let me give the final words, or let me pick the final thoughts of the gentlemen who are joining us on Zoom and also on the telephone lines. I'll begin with you, Joel. In 30 seconds, your final words.
Okay, thank you very much. I think my MP has said a lot. Togo and Benin did very well. They had a second tranche, or their second phase, and they are doing their second phase very beautifully. Ghana has not even started yet. Mauritania and Benin got over 240 million additional money after they've done the first one successfully. The project is in 3 phases: the coastal well protection, flood control, and pollution and livelihood. So because the project hasn't started, the coastal erosion is still there, people's livelihood is still under threat, pollution is still ongoing, flood situation, we are about to enter the rain again. The Keta Lagoon is already over-silted. A little rain let the water go out of its banks. So danger looms ahead, and therefore I call on Minister of Finance and the Minister, Honorable Ato Fosun, to release some money. And as my MP said it, all meetings should be put on hold. We want to see concrete action on the ground.
Joel,
if this is done, people will be happy, and the people will...
Joel, you mentioned earlier that people are threatening a protest. When is that going to happen, really, briefly?
No, we don't want to go on that tangent. Our chiefs have visited the regional minister already and asked him to see the president, who is the #1 man on this land. If he wants this land to be wiped off, he has to tell our chiefs first, before when our chiefs bring us that bad omen, then we go on that tangent. But for now, we are allowing our chiefs to go and meet the president and bring him down to come and see the damage on the ground. And if you not call on Honorable Ato to release the money for the work to be done, then our entire Anglon will march through Dabala, Sogakope, and Sege, and then we will reach Afienya, reach Tema, and continue on the motorway.
Right.
And we will go to the presidency to present our petition.
Joel Dej, thank you very much. He's a climate activist. Let me go to Dr. Selam Jaklo, who is a coastal management expert. Dr. Jaklo, your final words.
Thank you very much. And let me start by saying that I associate myself with what Joel and Honorable Sefe said. I mean, they've made some really important points. Too many meetings, and there's a simple approach to solving this. Let's stop the meetings and get to work. What I want to add to it is that if the project finally takes off, we should be looking at nature positive engineering.
Right.
That is doing the engineering with nature, because previously we've been doing maybe nature negative engineering. We've been putting some structures there. That has just been pushing the problem further on and worsening the situation. Let's just get to it, do the nature positive engineering. The sand motto that Joel spoke about. Yes, we have similar coastal geomorphology as Togo and Benin. We could do that with a hybrid kind of coastal protection, terminal groins, put the sand in between it, and then monitor it, and then protect it, and that should work. And once we get that beachfront, we could push it even further out, like the countries that have, some countries have 80% reclaimed land. We could reclaim significant portions of land there. Okay. We could work with the Volta. The Volta is an interesting situation, but by virtue of the fact that we have dammed it, means that the rate of flow has decreased, means that there will be sediment accumulation in the lower Volta Delta, which is part of the problem the honorable member, Honorable Sefer, was speaking about.
Right.
So we created that problem, which is affecting other people. So we need to work on it, because a problem that everybody benefits, Akosombo Dam, everybody benefits from it. But by doing so, we have deprive some people of their livelihood. So we need to look at that one too holistically and, clear that that sediment buildup in a scientific way. Water River Authority used to do that every 10 years. They haven't done it in a long time. Some people came up with some business model which may have influenced maybe why they haven't done it. Right. But that needs to be looked at. Okay. So I associate myself with all their sentiments.
Salam,
and the people.
Thank you very much. He's the coastal management expert. Wanda Sechofia is the municipal director of NADMO in the Keta municipality. He's currently at Ebri attending a WACA conference on this particular issue. Wanda, I want to give you 30 seconds. Your final words.
Thank you very much. I would also like to associate myself with my MP and Joynews and then the coastal experience expert man. I would like to say that to please my government to quickly put together things for us as was done at Ketu South, so that the life of the people and then the property of the people will be safe. Because they also need our help, they also need our support, since they are also Ghanaians, they deserve to live a better life. So we need to help them, support them through the Walker project.
Right.
So we are begging and we are pleading John Ravani Mahama, the Vice President, the ministers, and then our members of Parliament to help us so that this project, this Walker project, will come to fruition, so that the people of Keta, the people of Angroga, and the people of Ketusa, and the other side of the Ghana will appreciate this government and thank them very much for what the wonderful work that they do. So we believe that all things being equal, this year, the project to get started on the ground.
Wanda, thank you very much. Wanda Sechofia is the municipal director of NADMO in the Keta municipality. I still have the MP for Anlo constituency in the studio with me, Richard Kwame Sefe. I want to give you a minute.
Thank you.
Make an appeal to the president and all the relevant authorities. You've mentioned the finance minister. You've mentioned the environment.
Water resources, what have you?
All of them in a minute.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I do that, permit me to say that let me thank you once again for hosting us. It's not been easy. Since then, man cannot sleep. I was only saying that let's assume that we say the people who are being affected now, they don't matter in the development schemes of the country. Let's look at other people who matter or who are more important, so that we salvage the area, and maybe those who don't matter now may vicariously benefit one day to come. It is on that score that I want to appeal to my president, the president that the people voted for overwhelmingly, including my good self, that we are not saying he's not doing his bit. After when the issue of Agoko and Co came to the fore, he quickly jumped in and they are solving it for them. But we are saying that he just came to meet the problem. When he was a candidate, he has been there, sympathizing with the people. We want to beg him that he should pull the necessary strings, those who matter in this, to come to our aid and help us. After all, that portion called Angloga, Keta, Ketusat, also form part of the landmass of Ghana to make it Ghana. That is my plea.
Right. MP, thank you very much. Richard Kwame Sefa is the MP for Anlo constituency. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Let's take you to the northern region now, where a growing community in Tamale called Dungu is facing a daily struggle for water. Residents say even when the rain comes, the water tap does not last. Taps have stopped flowing, wells not always safe, and many people now spend a large part of their income just to get water. For students living near the University for Development Studies, the situation is affecting their health, their studies, and their daily lives. Our reporter, Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin, has been speaking to residents and experts about what is driving this crisis and what really can be done.
My roommate precisely drinking from some of the well water which I warned her from taking, got typhoid, which was severe. Sometimes she would sit down crying. Because of this, she stopped taking sachet waters and she started buying Vortex to just take. And the money too is not there.
When we wash, the dirty water that we use to visit the washroom, because we think that water is safe for us than using the clean water to visit the washroom. And because of this water crisis, I've get typhoid from that. Sometimes you want water, but how to get is another problem.
21-year-old student Abdul Wahab Mariam lives in a hostel near the University for Development Studies. She says many days start without water.
Sometimes you wake up, checking your jars and your basins for water. You won't get water unless you go to your neighbor to ask for water. And sometimes they will not have water unless you go to different persons for water.
Dungu has grown quickly in recent years. Thousands of students now live in the area, but the water system has not grown with the population. Tahiru Al-Hassan, who has lived in the community since 2018, says the taps used to work sometimes, but not anymore.
For the past 4 years now, it has never flowed again. 4 years, it has never flown. We have no water flowing to our tap, no drop of water from our tap for the past 4 years. Even before the 4 years, when they opened the tap, there was no pressure. So we had to resort to loosening the meter, at least so that we can dig some small hole and put a container there just to harvest some small water into our buckets and jerry cans.
Pipelines are still in place, but they no longer supply water to homes. Officials at Ghana Water Limited say the main problem is that the demand is far higher than supply. The Northern Regional Chief Manager of Ghana Water Limited, Stephen Amehere, explains the gap.
On the average, we can do 35,000 cubic a day when we are using all our 3 pumps. We do 35,000 cubic a day. And the demand for Tamale is 90,000. So when the dry season,
90,000 daily?
Yeah, daily. So in the dry season, when all other sources are drying up or have dried up, everyone now relies on another company. So it even worsens the situation. Animals, car wash centers, food joints, everybody's relying on this 35,000. So it makes the scarcity worse. And when the dry season too, because of dehydration, people even consume water more.
Many residents now depend on buying water to survive. Tahiru says this is the only option left for his family.
For the dam water, something like 20 drums goes for around 400 Ghana cedis. Almost the same as the pipe water. Because pipe water, you can get it around 500. But I used to buy 50 drums. And 50 drums, I pay 800 cedis for every 3 weeks. A family of 5. By every 3 weeks, we consume all the 50 drums, and I have to buy another set of water. So for the students in our houses, the jerrycans they used to buy from the motor Kia drivers goes for 3 cedis per jerrycan, and that is what they go to day in, day out.
For students, the cost is high and the impact is serious. Mariam says water shortages affect cooking and daily life. Some students now use sachet water for basic needs.
So imagine if I'm in the hostel, I buy sachet water, maybe 4 cedis. And when I went to campus to stay for in the morning to afternoon time, I can't just sit there without taking water. So I have to buy water, let me say 2 cedis, 3 cedis before I'll come back to campus, which is not easy for us because of the scarcity of water.
Another student, Audu Faiza, says sachet water has become part of everyday life.
So sometimes because we don't get enough water, we used to buy the sachet water because it's for drinking, we get it more than the gallon water. So when we get the sachet water, we use it to perform ablution, and sometimes we use it to cook, and sometimes too we use it for drinking. So with this, it really affects us. Sometimes we can go to the shop to buy sachet water, and they will be like there is no a lot of sachet water available, so you have to buy one.
When water sellers can't supply enough, people turn to wells and abandoned facilities, but these sources are often not safe.
There is abandoned manhole here. That's when it rains, we get water from it. So with this, we use it for bathing, for washing, and sometimes we use it to cook. But sometimes you'll be going to fetch and we will see animals like frogs and worms in it. In front of my house, there is one well which is not even covered. They use wood to cover it. So in the rainy season, when you go there to fetch the water, you see insects and these animals, small ones, frogs and all those stuff. We don't have any options to just take their water and come and bath. Sometimes when we don't have water, we have to cook it because we believe that boiling water kills germs. So we have to use it, which we ended up getting typhoid.
But once we can't do without water, a lot of us has resorted to at least the rainwater, as you said. Myself, I've done that, and during the rain season, that one, I don't buy water at all. So for 3 consecutive months, when the rain starts, I won't buy any water. I store enough water for the family and for the tenants in my house, that's the students. But as soon as the dry season begins or the rain stops, the rules of finding money to at least get water for myself and the family has to increase.
So in the rainy season, when it's raining, you can come out and collect water from the rain. That one will, you use it for some time before you start buying water again. But if it is not raining, you have to be buying water every day.
Experts say the crisis is not only about broken systems. Changing weather patterns, known globally as climate change, is also playing a role. Rainfall in northern Ghana is becoming less predictable.
GMET has shown that in many parts of the northern Ghana, the amount of rain that is being received is not the same. In many areas, it's less than they usually get. At the same time, in some places, it's more than what they usually get. And so with that, it means that areas that usually typically should get some amount of rain to farm, they don't get that amount. In some areas, they get a lot, but they are not prepared.
As threats of violent extremism continue to evolve, African leaders are now looking to artificial intelligence to stay ahead while pushing for deeper intelligence sharing and stronger collaboration to secure the continent. This has come to light at the Dakar International Forum on Peace and Security in Africa, where my colleague Adobia Asare is standing by with the latest. Adobia, what else have you been learning? Hello, Adobia. Your line is unfortunately very bad. If you can
you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, so today happens to be a wrap of the Dakar International Forum on Security in Africa. And two things happened today: a dialogue and a series of workshops, which unfortunately we pressmen were not given access to. However, in the dialogue, two key things were mentioned. I did tell you yesterday that the ECOWAS chairperson on authorities of heads of state and governments made a very important call. He charged women to lead peace building in Africa, women and young people. So today in the first dialogue, women were expected to represent and talk about their contributions to peace building and the plans they have going forward in terms of peace building in Africa. And two things were mentioned. They mentioned the use of artificial intelligence. We're in a world now where AI is ruling. I mean, we're using AI for almost everything, designing, checking our spellings and all of that. And then they believe that some of these terrorists are actually smart and intelligent, and they use some of these tools already. So to get ahead of them, we need to have a robust system to artificial intelligence and a portal to get ahead of them and counter this terrorism before the event starts. Now, the second thing they mentioned was imbibing in children, right from infancy, the importance of peace, all the negative effects of war, violence, extremism, and all of that. Already, I can think of that. We do this already. I mean, when we are in basic school or JHS, and it is conflict resolution, conflict management. That's important. But what is going to change going forward is going to start little by little in certain countries and then spread across Africa. Is right from infancy, around when children are begin to understand things, when they begin to, intelligence is broadening and widening. They should be taught that everything peace, violence, why we shouldn't engage in violence, why we should. Now, another interesting thing I observed here since I came is over here, Ken, unlike our place where you can just walk to someone and maybe they are an expert and you want to interview them, or you see your ambassador here, a diplomat you want to interview, you actually have to send in a request has to go through a whole lot of process. And we've done that since yesterday. Yeah, we've done that since yesterday. Unfortunately, there hasn't been very good response here. However, I have someone here. He's with the Military Africa Media. He was in the dialogue because he's not a pressed man with us. He was given access to the dialogue, and he's going to share with us a few things that he got in the dialogue. So I have him with me, Ekene. You can have the floor. What are some of the things that happened in the dialogue? Just look at the dialogue.
Several defense leaders, as well as policymakers and experts, were in the dialogue, and they spoke quite a lot about the different issues, varieties of issues in the area of defense sector in Africa. Three key issues they spoke about was adoption of AI in military strategies, as well as how African militaries can tackle hybrid threats, and also how the defense industry can be scaled up. They also talk about the challenges affecting the defense industry. For the hybrid threats, we all know about this issue of disinformation, where terrorists and non-state actors use fake news and disinformation to try to gather public interest to their cause. The experts spoke about how this can be tackled, also using innovative technologies. Also in the area of defense industry, how the defense industry can be scaled up. And one key thing that was mentioned was integration and standardization of weapons and technology by African forces. They gave an instance, a former military personnel, a senior military personnel gave an instance whereby, for example, we have Nigeria and Chad and Niger in the same region. They should be able to share resources in times of need. He mentioned that during a particular operation they were doing at the time, Nigeria had so much ammunition at the time, such surplus ammunition, but then their Chadian partners and Nigerian partners at that time were short of these resources. However, they could not use, or they could not share these resources with their partner country because there was no standardization between them. They weren't integrated in any way. You're having two countries.
That's my colleague Adobe Asari, all the way from Dakar, Senegal. Back here in Accra, Council for the Catchment Area Community Alliance, Martin Pegbu, is demanding the immediate termination of Health Goldfields mining lease for the Bogoso Prestia mine, citing breach of agreement, lack of capacity, and alleged financial misrepresentation. At a press conference in Accra, Martin Pegbu said the company was granted the lease on December 13th, 2024, after committing to a $500 million investment, payment of worker entitlements, settlement of legacy debts, and rapid rehabilitation of the mine. He alleges the company has instead created unauthorized financial encumbrances on state mineral assets without parliamentary approval or ministerial consent, which he says breaches the Constitution and the Minerals and Mining Act. My colleague Stephen Mensah was at that particular briefing and is joining me in the studio with more. Stephen, take us through the demands by this.
Well, Kenneth, the group is demanding that government immediately revocates the mining lease of Heath Goldfields, and they cite concerns about labor welfare and also the mining lease. They talk about the fact that the group has been, that's the mining company, has failed in its corporate social responsibility. You will recall that somewhere last month, on the 24th of last month, that's March, the group hit the streets of Accra and they were protesting. They presented some petitions to the Jubilee House and to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and they indicate that the mining company, that's Heath Goldfields, has failed on its part to honor its obligations with the labor welfare and the corporate social responsibility, that's the development of the community. We can listen to some of the concerns of the aggrieved workers who presented their petition last month.
Heath Goldfields, almost 600 workers. Where you in India? Ati Sabima, Mbebuni Awanamia, Ogua Biblia, Obia underground mine, Obia. I think that Sir President Adarek Amabua, Sir President Idiabra, not politics with the Beverly form. Young Obia Dua, much petition, can petition now. Who say, Ministers Nibi, CEOs Nibi, Yama President Chief.
Nema oni abanshi says obetua ka oni community for better fa ni nyina no wanye bia workers na over 650 make us say from 100 550 na agufie car na say your dia say otua ya ka meter servants ya senate na pia for na ani na ontua at the center be one man no ye na mane underground mining but they say obey surface you close the town. And at the same time, a shaft now, underground mining, and 200 meters simple. A whole money into seeing now underground.
The demonstration in Accra is part of a series of actions by the group aimed at pushing for accountability and improved conditions in the mining communities.
And what evidence are they relying on?
Well, Martin Pebu, who is the counsel for the aggrieved members, says that the company that has failed to honor its core obligation, and is demanding that the company and government initiates a credible and transparent process that ultimately brings in a financially capable investor to take over the mining company or to take over the mines. And he points to some documentations that suggest that the Ghana's mining rights may have been used for collateral without proper legal basis. We can listen to him during a press briefing earlier today.
In clause 8.1.5, Heath Goldfield states that the charged assets, which include the mine. In clause 8.1.5, Heath Goldfield states that the charged assets, which include the mining leases, and the mining leases are government assets, and equipment are owned legally and beneficially by them, free and clear of any adverse claim or encumbrance. Furthermore, but that's not true, because without, there's an encumbrance, you can't give it out without a consent, right? So furthermore, in clause 8.1.8, the company claims that to the best of its knowledge, there are no outstanding or threatened actions or suits that could materially affect the market value or ownership of the charged assets. I said this is false. Risk of shifting from private equity to mortgage. So it means that with the $65 million loan that they've taken from Trafigura, they've changed from private equity. Remember, when we say private equity, their own plan says what? Yelmadden was bringing in $500 million. That's private equity. So they are changing from that model to this mortgage style, you see. So remember, we also mentioned earlier that mine this and operate and then get profits to fund it, okay? Yeah, mind and operate, we said no, or self-financing, no. So now they are going to mortgage, which they have done by doing a debenture with Trafigura. Okay, so this shift from the traditional private equity funding, that's a $500 million, to a high-risk mortgage structure over a sovereign mineral right is deeply concerning. The agreement allows for the appointment of a receiver with broad powers to take possession, operate, and even dispose of the charged assets. Such a structure exposes the host communities and the state, as Ghana, to the risk of losing operational control.
So what really is the impact now?
Well, we can say the impact is significant, and this is the account of the workers. They say they remain unpaid, and that there's growing tension within the community, and they say if this is not addressed quickly, it could lead to government or the state losing revenue. We can listen to Martin Pebu once again talking about the impact on the community and the state as a whole.
Because it's way beyond the time the minister has given them, etc. Our demand is that then the minister should go ahead now and terminate so that the property can be put, that's the asset, the mine can be put back on the market for all investors, interested investors, to come and now bid. Yes, so put it back on the market simply by terminating the agreement. Yes, that's it. Go ahead. Please continue. Yeah, because the investments and everything that were promised weren't fulfilled. Yes, because even the first phase, you say you will bring $500 million. That when I say you, that Heath Goldfield said they will invest $500 million over 5 years. But critically, the first stage, which is $150 million, they've been dollars, not Ghana cedis, of course. They've not been able to invest that, and we are past that. The $150 million was required to have been spent by the end of 2025. We're in 2026. It's gone. It's gone. So it's too late in the day. Nothing can be done. And if you see, and I keep saying that, if you look at what has been disbursed so far, it's far lower. The expenditure, it's about 23.7 million out of they require 150 million. It's way too low. If they were above 100 million or around, even the community, nobody would have had time to come and do this press conference. Because with 100 million investment, a lot of things would have been going on. And these same people would have been busy working. You see, my clients, a lot of them came. Okay? Yes. So the Catchment Area Community Alliance. So you see that it's because there are no jobs, that's why they could come. If they were working, they would not even come. They would not even come and consult me for us to do any presser.
Well, that's it for the pulse this evening. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Kenneth Jesse. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with News Prime. Have a good evening.